I'll call the meeting to order at 7:30 PM. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
I will. Supervisor Gail Chancellor Eisenberg.
Here.
Trustee Kate Cassell McNally.
Here.
Trustee Mark Peterson. Here. Trustee Stephen Mosier. Here. And trustee Jessica Tucker.
Here.
As well as administrator and deputy clerk Larisha Hopkins.
Here.
Do we have our assessor online with us?
We do not yet.
Okay, so when they come in further, I'll add them in. And form for business.
We now have our assessor.
Assessor Jane Churchwell.
She's moving. Let the record reflect Janet Churchwell.
Sure.
Yep.
Sorry,
We'll now
I'm here.
stand for the, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, supervisors report. The biggest thing was obviously we had our turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving, which went very well. We had a number of volunteers, both amongst the board and then other officials and community members as well. This was probably our most ambitious Thanksgiving giveaway, which is great. Not only were we giving out turkeys, but we also had a lot of supplemental bags. So both supplemental groceries and then our normal treats for Thanksgiving, and even pies to really make a festive Thanksgiving endeavor. People seemed very thankful. I'm sure, and there are some comments about that in some of the staff reports. There was a lovely counseling center of the North Shore open house event, so I got to tour the space, buy some gifts for my kids and self from their resale shop. If you haven't been over there, lots of fun stuff for the holidays. It's stuff you did not know you needed. Supporting mental health. We had a lovely event for the retirement of Mark Schroeder, who's the head of Endeavor Community Impact for Evanston. They recently gave us a very generous donation for the food pantry as a part of their community impact efforts. He has been a connector really amongst the community and has been he brings together representatives from various communities. We do once a quarter for a community advisory committee. So he's been a constant in my supervisorship, and he will be missed, and I congratulate him on his retirement. I'm sure there are other things that I am forgetting, but that is what I'm remembering right now. Any questions on supervisor's report? Being none. Mr. Clerk?
So, I'd like you to table the minutes, please. I really like the idea the last few times they've been included in the packet, since they were not, I tried, I just not ready, and I don't want to put out shy ones. So please, if somebody would table, and you'll have them for the next month.
And I'll make a motion to table the November board meeting minutes to the January meeting, or when the packet is out.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? We'll just note that we do have to have these minutes done every 30 days. There's no enforcement mechanism, but please try to do it. We are going to start using AI to make it simpler. We have the clerk fee.
Yes, that's been very helpful. Actually, I've been through trainings and I've had quite a few conversations that I probably told Larisha.
Wonderful.
So
Yep.
I'm really, it's very helpful actually. It's neat.
Yep. And making good
There's a
use
lot
of
of
the
things
clerk
there.
as well. Yes.
But I like the idea of the packet being published, and I think that's kind of, and I wasn't there. So.
Absolutely.
And with the clerk's report. So I just a few things. At first,
I'm sorry, we have to vote on.
Oh.
Yeah. Any additional discussion? Oh, and just one other thing, the auditors do put in their recommendations to start including in the minutes, all the attachments.
Yeah, it's a total number.
We had been doing that when Nicole was for a short period. If we could bring that back, I think that'll make it a lot clearer what was happening. So including
So I
the
referenced
financial,
that. It's actually put in.
attach it all together. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
But it may make it easy now that it's on that.
Exactly.
The program can slide over.
You should be able to simply link to it using Civic Clerk.
Okay,
That's what it's
fantastic.
for. Fabulous.
Not really.
All right, all those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is tabled. Now, clerk's report.
So, first of all, thank you for the nice wishes. I particularly, when Gail and Larisha said the little statement So just so you know, I'm recovering really well. This should be my final hurdle and things, but it was a lot more painful than I thought. It's been, but I mean, I spent 2 weeks flat. So if any of you have fine issues, address them right away. And then I was in very good hands. But I appreciate your nice wishes. Secondly, I wanted to say in October, Gary had to go over what I would have told you in November. We had a Township Cook County Board meeting. And why am I addressing that now is that, you know, having Gail on the board already, we've offered 2 new trainings. You know, there's gonna be one on sexual harassment. I just think, Gail, that's exactly what the board needed and exactly what the organization, if we want to stay relevant and meaningful to the work of township government, it's exactly like doing things like the sexual harassment workshop tomorrow and the other one we've offered. So, Gail, it's nice to have you on there. I've been on for several years, but it's really nice to have Gail. And then furthermore, the trustees division, I might have mentioned, is reorganizing. They haven't met in years. And that's big zero for a long time. But they have ambitious people who want to make it a great, after you're the largest division within township government. And I encourage you, if they do a meeting, we could all go together. I mean, I'd love to. I went in the years past and they had very exciting meetings that were perfect for like the work that you do and the things you care about. And I'd like that. So please, if you see an email or a notice about it, like they really want to get started. And that is my report.
And just a note, you know, we are not currently members of the trustees division. If anyone wants to start going and develop leadership on that, then that's something we would do and support. But unless I hear someone actually going, we're not going to join. But I did go as a trustee. I thought it was, depending on the topic, would be useful, but it was very topic specific. So do keep an eye out.
But they have a good idea. This new group.
Absolutely.
They want to make
Very
it meaningful
Yep.
for you all.
Yeah.
And trustees, and there's some sharp ones there.
And I'd just like to add, I echo your comments, Jerome. Gail, it's just super how engaged you are with the township officials and the seminars, like that social media seminar was really informative. So when, you know, you hold these seminars or host, however you like to do it, on relevant topics, I think that really is exciting and it's helpful. And it keeps everyone kind of engaged and together, right? We're all kind of communicating with each other, which I think is important too among the townships. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And if you have ideas for things that's been on your mind, it's never too early to start planning the Township Officials of Cook County Conference in June.
Oh, and I did want to mention.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
There you go.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
Winner, let's go right to.
I really-
Anyone needs CLE credits in teaching, I'm just saying.
I hope you would love to go in June because it's gonna be great. They're picking a new spot. It's gonna be
Where's
very.
that? Somewhere up here?
It's,
they're
this is gonna
moving-
be in Rosemont this
Right.
time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And they've had great, they had state treasurer, they had the state secretary of state, so they have important people. But the best part of the workshops ahead of time, Gail led those, the clerks, those are outstanding. So I just want to say that's something to look forward to, like put on your calendar because you'd enjoy it. Kate, you would love this stuff, like they're. I mean,
Yes, you would.
you would love it. You would
Definitely mark that in my.
please do in June. And the other thing is, I did want to mention the passing of a legend in this village, the township, Joe Fell. And I know I sent you an email, but just to give you an idea, Joe was the collector, the last collector. You know, it's kind of the last collector for the township, and then they phased out the office, but Stephen can testify, having Joe Fell around, it was just. That position was meaningful because of Joe, and then the guy before him was George Noyes, so you talk about.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So I wanted to make sure you all knew about that Joe Fell of the Fell Company store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was an all around kind of great guy. And further, you should know the village president or the village administrator of Winnetka has retired.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was
Robbie,
Rob Bayhan. It's
Right.
just nice to know that these kind of really important people around the town that have helped out.
Yeah.
Just thank you.
Trustee Tucker, maybe when we can, we were gonna invite the new administrator over, new manager. Maybe you can be our foray.
Oh, sure, of course, just let me know.
Absolutely.
And she should be at the State of the Villages,
Absolutely.
and I'm so glad that you're included this year, yes, for that.
Join me on Friday,
When is that?
Yes, so you'll have a
Friday,
chance.
10:15 a.m.
This Friday?
Yep, for the League of Women Voters, Winky, the Winnetka, Northfield, Kenilworth, Glencoe.
Is that over there?
No, not Glencoe, Glencoe.
Yeah, I think it's Winnetka, Northfield, Kenilworth is the league, but it's open to
Great.
Yeah.
whoever.
To reiterate what Jessica said, your outreach is amazing. I mean, just your engagement in the community is beyond what I could ever imagine somebody doing in this role. You know, it's really, it says a lot about you, and you do a nice job representing us and the township. So nice
Know
work.
how to make girl feel nice.
Yes, thank you.
Birthday's coming.
For everything.
Financial report, James.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll walk through the 9-month report here.
Okay.
Bear with me 1 second. All right, so let's pull this up a little bit. Let's just start with some revenue highlights. Again, we're 75% of the way through our fiscal year. You can see taxes in pretty much unchanged. We're hoping to see those escrows released. Some collections, the bills are due December 15th, so maybe Jan has some more insight. 2 million collected so far, so that's unchanged at 53%. Just waiting on that second installment. Replacement taxes at about 30,000 collected. Remember, that comes in about every other month from the state. That's the business tax. That's in at 52%. Interest already a beat for the year, about 81,000 collected there. 61% better. The Fed probably set to cut rates though tomorrow, so probably another 25 basis point cut there, which will affect our money markets. Passport fees in at 78%, so 3% better than where we are in the year at about 24,000. So 2.1 million collected to date. Our budget's 3.9, so we're at about 54%, again, awaiting that second installment. Go down into the expenditure categories. Again, everything pretty much here in the green. We just have a few that are just slightly over where we are in the fiscal year. You can see transportation services just over at 76%, contractual services in at 83, and then we do have building town hall expenses in at 85. But our main drivers are those agency programs. That's at 67, awaiting on the last third of those payments. And then as you kind of scroll down the categories here, financial assistance in at 56, pantry in 37, and then personnel costs in at 69. So all of those doing better than budget. 2.4 million in total spent on a $4 million budget puts us at 59%. And as we look at our funds, again, the two major funds, town and GA, were at 58 and 60% respectively. So both of those on target to come in under budget for the year. We are using our reserves as we wait on tax money. 237,000 we've used so far. We started with just under 2.3 million, so we're just north of 2 million in terms of ending fund balance, and that pretty much equates to cash for us. Again, still really good fund balance ratios at 92 and 63% for both of our funds, all in at 86%. If we go down into the distribution, again, it's mainly taxes for revenues at 94%, replacement tax about 1, interest almost 4, and passports 1. And then as we look at the expenditures, agency programming at about 50%, child care 5, projects 1, contractual services 7, the assessor 2, building town hall is about 7, financial assistance about 9, pantry 3, personnel 14, officials 1. So right now we're going to have expenditures over revenues to the tune of about 200,000. So we are using our reserves at this point. And then again, you can see some of the, I'm not going to go through all the detail, but again, we talked about agency programming having 1/3 payment left to go, or 33%. So you see those all at 67%. And then some of these have been paid in full for the year. We kind of walked through those, you know, mainly website, civic clerk, that's all been paid in full. That's why you see those at 100%. I'm just going to take us down here before I open it up to questions to our cash positions. You can see here that about 2 million overall. Again, these rates probably set to come down as the Fed cuts tomorrow, but you can see a lot of it now at Schwab and Illinois funds. And again, that's going to help us get a little better bang for the buck. We have had to pull down some investments, so as we wait on tax money. So that's kind of the rub in terms of those late taxes. Or those late tax bills, I should say, is we have to pull down some investments. And again, as we move forward, CPI right now at 2.8. Remember the levy, 2.9 for this year's CPI. So, you know, we do see interest rates as well as inflation coming down some. Outside of that, though, I'll leave the transaction detail up for approval, but I'd be happy to take any questions from the board.
Questions?
So James, I know we're pulling from cash reserves, but it looks like we still have healthy reserves, even if we have to pull from them, because isn't there like an average number, 6 months, 8 months that you typically, it's typically recommended to keep in reserves, and it seems like we're well above that, right? So we're in a very good cash position, even if we're drawing on reserves.
Yeah, I'd say we're in a good cash position as of right now. I mean, again, with the lateness of the bills, that always, makes it even more important to carry that 6 months. I think we see a lot of townships that have not addressed some of their fund balance positions, and they are, looking for bridge loans and that kind of thing. So you never want to put yourself in that position,
Right.
especially if there are some bigger needs ahead. And again, as service levels continue to go up, you're going to want to maintain that fund balance ratio as best you can.
Sure, thank you. And how do we know after payment comes in on taxes, how quickly the township will receive its share? Are we looking at still this month or next month, or how much further out are we going here? Do you know, or have any idea?
I don't know for sure, but I would expect to see some collections roll in actually next week. Typically,
good.
we actually see payments released early on escrows when it's a normal year. So when the bills are due in August, we'll see some of that money in July and then the bulk of it in August. So I'm hoping to see money
Okay.
next week.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions for James? Being none, before we vote, I'm just make sure I get my power back on here. Got it. Okay, we're now in line for verification of claims. Trustee Moser.
And I would like to enter a motion to approve the claim balance from November 1st, 2025 to November 30th, 25, as presented to the board this day, the 9th day of December, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Motor.
Yes.
Trustee Peterson.
Yes.
Trustee Casella McNally.
Yes.
And Supervisor Eisner.
Yes. Thank you. Assessors report. Assessor Churchwell. Assessor Churchwell, going one. I am posting on, yeah. Going twice.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
No problem.
The first piece of news is that the Board of Review reopened all closed townships for new appeals only last week. It's a short period, sort of like a veto session. The last day to file is this Friday, December 12th. But the board is also holding a series of outreach clinics as well to facilitate filing only, no presentations or anything. Ours is not until next week, December 16th, which is after the official filing date. But all of the workshops, I mean, they had to schedule these things, they're doing 4 of them, I believe, countywide. And so they had to schedule them whenever they could with the sort of, late breaking decision so close to the holidays and everything. So they couldn't get in all the workshops before the deadline they wanted to have. So anybody who attends any of the outreach sessions and files an appeal on the spot, it will be included just as though it had been filed by December 12th. So that's the way they're handling it. Our session, which will include, I don't remember altogether, Evanston, Northfield Township, and I think Maine Township will all are all included in the event that will include New Trier. Because of the state of our conference room, when they were making their arrangements, I said I didn't think they'd better count on us to be able to get in there. So it's going to be held over in the Glen at Park Center building, which is at 2400 Patriot Drive. For our part in that, Heather put announcements out on our social media and sent out a blast to all the residents who get township news. And just as sort of an explanation, this was done. I thought their reasoning on it was very interesting, actually. It had to do with the very late tax bills. But the Board of Review's thinking apparently was that since tax bills for the second tax bills for any year normally come out before the Board of Review opens to take in any appeals for the current year. So they felt that residents had a right to have that sort of progression. So the tax bills were very late. So they reopened appeals in order to give people who had missed, for any reason, had missed their filing dates. They were waiting on the tax bills. They didn't know they could file, whatever. They didn't even need an excuse. But this way, the progression of tax bill first, then appeal remains intact for them. So that was their rationale. I have no idea whether it makes any sense or not, but that's what they did. And as next thing is that, as Gail alluded to last month, the senior freeze in Cook County has been increased beginning with next year's income. The threshold will be 75,000. It is currently 65,000. Then in 2027, it goes up to 77,000, and in 2028, it goes up to 79,000. So the increases will be substantial over the next 3 years. And just as an interesting, I don't know whether this will have any effect on the people who qualify, but there is a provision in the Tax Act that was enacted last summer that includes a deduction of $6,000 for all seniors who have an income below $75,000. So sort of depending on how the IRS or the 1040, how the IRS actually lists this extra $6,000, it is marginally possible that more people would qualify. I think not, because if it's a deduction, it won't be part of the gross income, but you never know. So I thought it's something that we'll be keeping an eye on in any event in order to make sure. And just also as an aside, because I had never heard of this new deduction until yesterday, it's going to apply for through 2028, so for 4 years, 25, 26, 27, and 28. So that will be a very nice, a nice addition for all seniors with incomes. And I think the fact that it's the same $75,000 threshold is just an accident. And then the only other thing is that Deputy Assessor Leonard Shiflett is retiring, and so I need a new deputy assessor. And if any of you know anyone who might be interested, please ask him or her to contact me. And just email. Email is the safest way to reach me. And happy holidays to everybody. That's it.
And do deputy assessors need to have the certification that you do to be
I'm
considered
sorry.
for the job?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you,
Do
Jerome.
deputy assessor applicants need to have your certification in order to be considered for that
No,
job?
they absolutely do not. And they can be anything they want to be. There is no criteria. There are no criteria for the job beyond sort of tech capabilities. There are pluses, such as obviously having a familiarity with Cook County, or how Cook County operates, or rather how Cook County government operates, or something like that, or somebody who worked in well, let's see, probably Len's a retired lawyer, and that's been very helpful. But there are probably other professions that would be equally where sort of parallel experience that would transfer over. So, but no, they absolutely do not. Now, I would encourage whoever takes the job to go ahead and get the designation if they want it, because I believe it brings a less level of professionalism to the position, which is valuable, but it's not required.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Jay.
asking.
Jay, a question for you. I was reading an article about Cook County. A lot of people have lost their homeowners exemptions. Do we have a number of that in our township?
Yes, and it's perennial. It's one of those things where the the rule is, and it's a, you know, it's an in stone rule. You apply for that homeowner's exemption, and by God, they've got it, and you're going to have it as long as you own that home. And then somehow the computer gives everybody the raspberry, and they just drop off.
Right.
Nobody knows why. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. There are people in the county assessor's office who undoubtedly know why, but they've never shared that information with anybody. We get them all back. The only problem is, of course, it's more paperwork. Hopefully, here at any event, there are very few people who are in such a position that if they drop their exemption or if their exemption gets dropped, that or the senior, that it has, you know, any causes any hardship for them in terms of that tax bill. But there is the as sort of random as these drops seem to be, there is never a question that it will eventually get sorted in the residents' favor and they will get it back. It'll be in the form of a refund if it isn't there. It's never an adjustment on a bill.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Jen, I had a question to follow up on Jessica's question. Do you have any insights as to when tax dollars will start flowing into the township?
Nope, none whatsoever.
Okay.
That's another thing
And
they
the-
never tell us.
The other question, which is to the board as well, does the lens position have to be filled by a resident of the township?
No,
Okay.
no, they don't. Cook County residents would be desirable just because of the shared sense of what the problems are, but even that isn't absolutely necessary. So no, they do not. The Niles deputy assessor happens to live in our township, for instance. So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yep.
thanks.
So once we will send out the job description, and it would be
Right.
helpful if you can share.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I could send that to everybody too if they'd like it.
When's Len's last day?
Well, he wants to leave at the end of the year on the 31st of December. I'm hoping to talk him in, but he said he'd be available to train and so forth. So I'm hoping to work around with him on that and maybe get him with us for a little longer.
That would
He
be
wasn't
good. Yeah.
expecting another open appeals period.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But fortunately, that won't come at least until sometime next spring, by which time there will hopefully be a warm body in the job.
All right, thank you. We are now in line for our audit report. Brian, thank you for joining us. Are you going to be screen sharing or no?
Whatever works best for you all. Would it be helpful for me to share my
Yeah.
screen?
I'll go ahead and make you the host so that you have that ability. We now have control.
Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of Sikich, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I'd like to thank the supervisor and the members of the board for inviting us to present the report resulting from the township's audit for your year ended February 28th, 2025. You should have two documents. One is that we'll start with the annual financial report, and then there's also a separate document called Auditor's Communication to the Board of Trustees. So within the annual financial report, page 1 is on Sikich letterhead. This is where we've given an opinion on the financial statements of the township. In order for us to give an opinion on the financial statements, we're required to follow two sets of standards. The auditing standards that tell us the types of procedures we need to perform when we're conducting our audit come from the AICPA, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. And then the second set of standards are the financial reporting standards that come from GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And we're pleased to present what's called an unmodified or clean audit opinion. And what that means is that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, free of material misstatement. And that's the highest level of opinion that you can receive on your financial statements. Just past the independent auditor's report on page starting on page MD&A 1 is what's called the management's discussion and analysis. Once the township receives the draft of the financial statements of the audit report, if you will, then the township prepares the MD&A. So thanks to Larisha and James Howard and his team for getting this document prepared. We then review it to make sure that it's consistent with the financial statements. But this ultimately serves as the executive summary of the document. After the management discussion and analysis is the first audited financial statement, which is on page 4. This statement, called the statement of net position, takes all of your liquid assets like cash and investments and your short-term assets like property tax receivables, layers on top of it your capital assets and your long-term liabilities as required by GASB. Your town fund and your GA fund is consolidated into the governmental activities, and then your nonprofit, the angel fund, is in its own separate column as what's called a component unit. So this statement, along with the statement of activities, which is on pages 5 and 6, you only see in the annual audit report. It's required to receive that unmodified opinion. But what you're more used to seeing is individual fund information. And so your governmental fund balance sheet, if you will, consists of your assets minus liabilities equals your fund balance. So if we have the town fund and the focus is on fund balance, which are your reserves that you had available to begin the fiscal year you're operating now. So your town fund balance is $1,674,000 and your GA fund $537,000. How you got to that point would be the activity for the fiscal year, which is the revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. So your town fund had 3.3 million in revenues with 2.7 million in expenditures. So you had an increase of 626,000, started at 1,048,000 and ended up at 1,674,000. That change in financial reporting, ND, is the small courier fund balance was consolidated into the town fund this year, and the beginning balance was $180. Your general assistants had 525,000 in revenue with 878,000 in expenditures, so a decrease for the year of 352,000. So those are the two key financial statements, the balance sheet and the income statement. Then what follows is the notes to the financial statements, which gives you a lot more information to support the financial statements that we just reviewed. So the summary of significant accounting policies tells you all the policies that are in place to prepare those financial statements. And that's starting on page 12. And if we jump ahead to page 18, page 18 is a note disclosure about the deposits and investments, specifically as it relates to your investment policy, and or if you don't have an investment policy, the statute, Illinois compiled statutes, the Illinois Public Funds Investment Act. So the township had less than 250,000 in its deposit account, so all of those were fully collateralized, and that's really what this note disclosure is telling you. And then we have the laddered maturities, most of which are less than 1 year for your U.S. Treasuries through at Schwab through Sawyer Faldudo. We'll jump ahead a few pages to the information related to the. We'll stop here at just to walk you to where you can find information in the reports. The town fund budget versus actual statement is on page 31 and 32. So this is the same information you saw up front with just a little more detail. So you can review that information. And then the general assistance budget versus actual is 2 pages later on page 33. Page 34 is information related to the pension plan for your full-time employees, the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, or IMRF. So each and every month you put in the 4.5% that comes out of employees' checks, plus the township's required contribution. Over the fiscal year, it was 7.25% of covered payroll, $24,990 impact on the budget. You can see that each and every year you're putting in exactly what's required, which makes IMRF a very well-funded plan that each and every unit of government participating in IMRF has to put in their fair share each and every month. The other way to look at the health of the pension plan is to look at the information from the actuary showing total pension liability, which is all your beneficiaries in the plan plus all your active employees. The actuaries estimate what the total benefit payments are going to be to all those individuals, present value that back to December 31st, 24, which is IMRF's fiscal year. So that total pension liability is 1.9 million. The assets in the plan, GASB's fancy term is plan fiduciary net position. That's just the assets at market value. We're 2.3 million. So you actually had a net pension asset at the end of the year of 403,000. Mathematically, you're 121% funded. Those are what I'd consider to be the highlights of the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We'll open it to questions, and I will take back power for you.
I had a question about some of the risk. I think it's, I don't know if it's common or uncommon, some of the things you cited. The policy now does not address concentration of credit risk, and our policy doesn't address the interest rate risk. Is that common or uncommon to have those findings?
So the disclosures are very typical.
Okay.
So this is not unusual, no.
Okay.
Albeit the township's investment policy not addressing interest rate risk would be something that you'd want to take a look at some sample policies that we can provide to the township to kind of beef up your policy a little bit.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Additional questions?
Obviously, all our funds are collateralized at all the banks, so that's really good. You know, former banker is just.
Right, there you go, right. I take it, Brian, all the ratios look good as far as, it looks like we're running surpluses every year, which is great. But is it, too much, too little? I mean, how do things look overall as far as, financial health?
So obviously this was our first year working with you, so we don't have the history kind of, but to your point on your question earlier about fund balance reserves, it's definitely a good idea I sent Larisha a sample fund balance policy today or yesterday for you all to look at. Not that that's what your board's policy should be, but it gives you a kind of a framework. A couple of the other townships that we work with, if let's say that they want to have 6 months in reserves. We have one township that we work with when they're over the 6 months and they have some capital projects to do, they set aside some of that money over into a capital fund so that those dollars can be used for that long-term capital plan. So that's definitely something to think about. But if for no other reason, to have a dialogue with the township board about what's our comfort level for reserves, given that we're in Cook County and the timing of property taxes obviously varies dramatically from year to year with no way to control that by the township.
Right.
So, if we go back to your if you have it in front of you and you look at page 9, your ending fund balance in your town fund was 1.6 million with expenditures for the year of 2.7 million. So you had, relative to your expenditures, you had over 6 months reserves. And to James' point, you're happy that you did, because obviously you're in the situation where you've been living without property tax dollars for quite a while. Similarly, the GA fund, 537,000 in fund balance versus expenditures of 878. I don't know if that's a typical year for expenditures. I know with some of the other townships we work with, that can vary up and down based on the level of assistance needed with your residents. So you all would have a better idea on what that looks like, but that's just kind of food for thought on fund balance.
Great, thank you. We're glad to see the clean and unmodified opinion too. That's fantastic. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I had a question regarding the material misstatement. Usually it's not from error, it's usually from fraud that's conducted. Are there any, you said you do some other audits for other townships. If you have found some areas where there have been some fraud that was undetected in your audits that was later determined, it wasn't an error in a financial statement, it was fraud conducted with collusion or something internally. And I guess, how do you monitor that if you don't have a real good way to measure that or test?
So the purpose of the audit is to give an opinion on the financial statements. So it's not to detect fraud. That's a different world in terms of forensic accounting and digging down. So in terms of the adjustments to the financial statements that were proposed, those are there's certain adjustments that definitely we would expect that we would need to assist with, and then there's others that James and his team will likely assist with going forward. So there was nothing that came to our attention that would suggest any of the adjustments that were needed to the financial statements were at all related to anything fraudulent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion? Being none, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch as we improve some of these policies over the next few meetings. We're now in line for public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Legislative updates. As of January 1, there will be some changes to FOIA and OMA. Most importantly, some of them will not apply to us. But you can get your OMA training now through the Township's officials homepage, which I thought was nice, and very specific to us. There's also certain exclusions from FOIA related to junk mail. We don't have to go through all of our junk mail anymore. That was an issue. And some changes to how people request FOIA. So you can't just put an attachment to say the attached or a hyperlink, because we obviously get so much phishing attempts. So now it has to be in the body of the email. You can't, we're not to assume that you should click things from unknown people. Other things that might be impactful is that we can post on our website the required documents rather than, there's a lot of different things that have to be on bulletin boards, etc. But now you can use your website, and you can use, if you have military service, you can use that as another reason for remote attendance to a public meeting and still vote. So we will be having to edit our remote policy in the at the next meeting. Not a huge rush, because not to my knowledge, nobody here is currently under military service, but to be prepared. And we can't have meetings with public bodies on election day. I did look at next year's calendar, which we'll be discussing shortly, and it is not electional. But I was like, why not check? That is the legislative update. If you have dream things you would love to change in the township code or any of the other statutes that we are subject to, please let me know. I talk with the township officials lobbyists relatively, whenever I can. And I like to have something approved each year. So let's get something done. All right, what's next?
Yeah, I think we just focus on like these deficiencies in this report and the decennial report that had a lot of suggestions to kind of just tighten things up internally. That's a great start. And then the bigger picture with the townships in general, but there's some really good suggestions here.
Some things we can do in-house and some things we need to do externally.
Yeah.
the fund balances you were mentioning, we had to go to Springfield to be able to access a lot of those reserves in the general assistance fund.
Oh, really?
So we were
do?
so limited in what we were allowed to use the general assistance fund for that we had to go down and open it up. So now we can use it for any financial need component program, and that's why we moved a lot of items from the town fund to the GA fund to spend that down for a bit, because we were getting pretty close to those limits, statutory limits. So we can always shift them back over, but the GA fund is much more restricted than the town fund.
So could that be a suggestion to maybe amend?
Oh, thankfully now we're amended, so. we fixed
Oh,
it.
okay, so
Yep.
that's done, so now you don't have to go down, okay, so
Yep.
that's an example where
An
you're
example
able
of
to.
where we saw
Okay,
a
I wasn't
problem
aware of that, yeah.
and we were able to fix it, but it's.
Yeah, so you have that flexibility, because you should have it, because the way the tax system is, as we see, we're not getting the
Absolutely.
revenues yet, so you should be able to draw down on reserves when you need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you say you fixed it, they create bills.
Yeah, we had to change the township code to allow us to use it, and that's why we passed a policy pursuant to that change. Must have been last year or a year or 2 years ago. So that policy could be changed by subsequent boards. So we went to the limit, of flexibility, but subsequent boards could say, we want to only be able to use GA fund for the pantry and emergency assistance, for instance. We are also use it for transportation subsidies, childcare subsidies, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good, interesting.
Committee liaison reports, we'll start with life stages, trustee Moser.
So we've done our hearings and we have a decision-making meeting, I think on the eighteenth, if my memory serves me correctly. Have we established what percentage we're gonna give this year, or are we gonna go with?
Recommendations from the committees.
Understood.
Yep, and then we will make the final decision.
Okay,
Yep.
the reason I'm asking is, I mentioned this last time.
Mhm.
Some of the new programs ask for some big dollars, but in the last review, some of the old programs asked for bigger dollars. And, I mean, I don't wanna call out anybody in particular, but there's one group we've worked with for years now. Used to have a tiny little budget, and all of a sudden, they're asking for more than twice as much as they've ever asked for. So I'm acutely aware of the fact that for my committee, the numbers are probably gonna come in pretty high because of all the substantial requests. Some have told the line, some haven't asked for any more than they asked before, but there are 3 or 4 that stick in my mind that are asking for big dollars.
And certainly, I'm sure the committee will do its diligence
Yeah, I
as
think
to
so.
whether those are.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that the trickier ones in a way are the new agencies coming forward. And what's an appropriate amount
Yeah, you
to
don't
give
have
a
the
new
history.
group that's just coming into the township, et cetera. So I'm sure they'll do a great job, but just so we're all aware, I mean, I think between 4 agencies, they're asking for a couple $100,000.
Wow.
So I'll be interested to see what the recommendations are.
That's why I was asking if there's a percentage we're looking at, but we're just gonna take it as it goes.
Remember, so we build our budget around these recommendations, right? And obviously, we only have what our extension is.
But
But the more we give in agency partnerships and creating that robust social safety net, the less we have for other things. So it's just to
Understood.
keep in mind, right? Mental health funding, Mark.
We met last night and we went through all 12 agencies, a very methodical approach. The committee is amazing how much detail they get into and how much knowledge they have, for years of service on the board. We went through the recommendations. It was our final meeting. I think they're going to present to it and during our January board meeting that will be here.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
were they asking for substantial increases in your committee?
There were several agencies where some were just asking, for the same that they had received the last 3 years. We had some that maybe went up 40%, some that jumped, but
Wow.
it depends. It could be based on, it could be 40%, but it could have only been asking for 16,000 versus somebody asking for 100,000,
Right.
40% jump. So,
Okay,
but no, they were all, really, all the presentations they gave were very, very good. They're all stellar agencies that provide great services to the community. We did focus in on the service to the township residents, the number and how that equated and the dollar per resident that's being spent. So again, I was really impressed with the people on the committee, did a really good job.
Thank you.
All right, disability support, trustee McNally.
So we had our recommendation meeting on Thursday, the 4th. We are looking at 17 programs over 13 agencies. Just to kind of preview for you, the committee is going to be recommending an overall $14,000 kind of increase over the amount approved in 2024, with two exceptions. They're recommending the amount requested for this year, and the two agencies programs that were kind of not approved or not being recommended was because they do not fit our standards, that they're recommending or they're requesting things, items, as opposed to programs and services. So it's just it was a great reminder, to people that it's a good touchstone to just, kind of look back, when all else fails, look back at what we're supposed to be doing. So, I had a similar experience as you did, Mark, that, just really incredibly dedicated volunteers in our community. We're super, super lucky.
Do you have any new agencies coming in?
That requested, yeah.
That requested. Understood, thank you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Words are important.
Pure
I
jury.
get it, yeah.
Trustee
So,
Tucker.
yeah, thanks. So, I reported last month, we had the meeting with the police departments in New Trier Township. And basically with the change in the climate, the policing environment and climate, and they're focused more on security and safety versus arrests and sentencing. They are looking at the administrative hearing process, which more and more municipalities in our township as well and throughout the state are picking up. Just it's more efficient. They don't have to deal with parents who are lawyering up and are hostile to, suggestions to admit guilt of their child and go through this program versus just going through administrative hearing process. So a lot of variables there and the police kind of caught in the middle between the, parents and the environment and everything else. So they have suggested that perhaps there's something we can do with the schools. So this next step has taken a little more time, but we're trying to set up, and Heather's helping as communications and outreach director to set up a meeting with the superintendent Tragos, and I think the others are principals. I'm not sure for like Loyola and Regina, the other high schools in the township. I don't think they have superintendents, but anyway, the head honchos of the schools. Outreach letters going out this week to look at dates in January or early February to get together if they have an interest in speaking with us. We're hoping maybe we can look into a partnership of some sort where we can provide some sort of restorative justice program, if you will, with the schools, within the schools where they're having, issues with students. I have no idea how they discipline their students currently, or if they want involvement or not. Brian said he had reached out in the past to some of the schools. I think one of the superintendents or principals came, actually observed a peer jury session, which was great to see that. One of the 4 or 5 high schools came, but then didn't follow up after that. So not real optimistic, but we feel it's worth the effort to reach out to the schools and see if there might be any interest there in looking at some sort of a restorative justice program that we could assist and partner with our local schools for any help they might need with students that maybe are heading down a different path of it. Yeah.
So would you be substituting peer jury with the restorative justice program?
That could, yeah, that could, whatever they want to call it. We just want to help if we can with helping students stay on the right track and staying out of trouble, and helping the police in that regard as well. So that's less for them to have to do, hopefully. But yeah, restorative justice is a great term for the program because it emphasizes accountability, responsibility, behavioral changes in the youth offender versus punishment. Or like suspension at a school, that sort of thing. If there's community service and apology letters or research paper that can be done by students, in the school disciplinary environment versus suspension for 3 days. Example, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of an example where a program like this could perhaps be more helpful to that student and be more meaningful to the student as far as directing, better behavior down the road for that student. As we've seen in peer jury, a lot of these students, is remarkable. They continue on with community service even after their sentencing, hours are finished because they really enjoy it. And their grades turn around and they stay away from drugs or alcohol or whatever it was that might have been the issue. Parents have been happier. So we've seen some really good outcomes with peer jury, and hoping that maybe we can continue in some form or some manner with the schools.
I
Maybe high
look
schools.
forward to hearing your recommendations after those discussions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
When does he recruit? Because I was wondering if you're gonna delay that, maybe do what's after.
so we're gonna wait until the recommendations,
Okay.
yeah. and
So
then
you
we'll-
won't recruit a new group?
Where there's no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Staff reports, we've received staff reports from all of our staff members other than Ryan Leverins. Is there anything anyone would like to take from one of their reports for discussion?
I'm a little bit troubled by something in Marisha's report about the Northern Trust still not being able to give us a debit
Yes.
card. Yeah. Can you expand on this a little bit? Like what is the problem? Is there something on their end? Is it on our end? Like how can we?
So I go to Northern Trust multiple times a week because I do deposits.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I was like, look, you guys are located in this township. We need a representative
Yeah.
from this bank. They always say that our representative is like in Chicago. And I was like, that does not make any sense. So then they give me the tussle about me not being the signer of the account. Well, Gail reached out last year. Yeah. Gail reached out last year about getting the debit card. They sent the application. I sent it. And now I forwarded it back from then. I was like, hey, we're not happy with you guys' customer service. We really need this debit card. Because otherwise it requires me to purchase on my BMO card and us pay out of the Angel Fund account, which is a pain. So they still haven't given us this debit card. They didn't even respond to my email.
So I think you and I will discuss, but it might be
Yeah.
time to cut.
Gail, you and I, it sounds like we might need to take a field trip to Chicago and meet with whoever they're telling us.
I'm pretty much done.
Person.
Yeah.
So
Does anyone bank with
either
Northern
I'm gonna start, knocking down
Yeah.
doors,
'Cause I
or
don't.
we move this account.
This
This is
the account.
Yeah.
banana.
It's bananas.
Yep.
With a community bank.
We've
We'll
got
Better than
Yeah.
trust,
other
byline.
options.
Yeah.
More of a community bank would be more helpful probably than a Northern Trust.
Northern Trust,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think,
Yeah,
Chase
Yeah, I
has
don't-
18 different places in Chicago,
Yeah.
in Winnetka, there's,
Yeah.
we can just
I
as
think in the new
easily.
year, I've been wanting to cut ties with them for a while, but
Yeah.
Amidst the nuttiness we've been having going on,
Yeah.
New Year,
Another-
New Year,
What's-
New Year,
yeah,
New
start
Year.
another bank.
Yeah.
It's just-
Look for, I think
Yeah, we
community
should.
banks are gonna be more
Yeah.
receptive and more responsive.
Yeah.
Like a Wintrust or a Byline, more of a
Yeah.
community bank.
Yeah.
We
And all
opened one for
national.
Wintrust to be able to do the stickers and they're wonderful over there,
Yeah.
so, if that might be a good idea, so,
True.
yeah. There's
Yeah,
some local ones that I can walk to do deposits,
Yeah,
you
make
know,
it easy for you.
yeah,
The Northern have for years now, have been increasing dollar amount they want to set up trusts and accounts.
Oh, yeah,
and everything
yeah,
else. So
yeah.
Cause all we have in there right now, based on, this month's report is, 47, plus thousand. And in one of the two Angel Fund accounts, right?
Yeah, we moved a lot of it into investment, so.
Yes.
That's this.
yeah.
Yeah, so they don't think we're
bad.
big dollars in the.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I've been a bad boyfriend in my
Right.
team. We're gonna let that.
Yeah, it
Yes.
takes time taking a trip.
Yeah.
Let's move the money.
Additional discussion on other staff report issues.
I will note again that our communications director does a bang up job these days and writes out a very thorough report to list of everything she's up to. And her numbers on
The numbers.
her social media are pretty impressive.
Yeah, Heather's done a great job.
And I assume you all saw that we have the blood drive on Thursday. I know she sent out an email. There are still spots remaining. I'm giving my blood. Oh, well, that's why I take iron pills. Anyway. And she has me and Patrick Leahy from the park board doing a video ahead of it. So he's very nervous. If he can do it, you can do it. So keep an eye out for that, and other special events coming up. Anything else?
Also, shout out to the food pantry and
Oh
the
my God.
participants of that. They've done a bang up job this month.
Absolutely
Yeah.
incredible.
This is all cleaned up. This was.
Yeah.
so
Oh my
cool.
gosh.
I can't imagine the work.
One thing
you
that
did.
Heather didn't mention was that we did additional outreach to the senior subsidized
low-income
housing
housing.
communities.
Hmm.
So in the past, we've done just a gift card around the holidays. And we were never sure they were being used. We have no ability to track them. This year we had so many pre-packed bags ready, and we know that they're all eligible for SNAP for being in HUD housing. So Heather went there with the help of much of the staff and beyond. Various governmental entities helped to move these bags around the community.
Yeah.
And she did tabling at both of the two buildings. And she said that it was huge because she was able to really address people's needs right there and then. So we're gonna hope to make that a regular occurrence, to have presence in those buildings. So that was very helpful, and make those connections with their property managers.
One other thing to echo on Heather, so the Winnetka newsletter, there's the food drive, they're including, which is very nice. I'm sure the other communities are too. But really nice to see when New Trier Township sends out something, a need or whatever it is. There it is in our weekly, email blast, so,
Absolutely.
or e-news, so that's nice to see.
Absolutely. Both her and Arnold did a great job in bringing the intergovernmental food drives throughout.
Yes, throughout the township, yeah.
And we're hoping to make it kind of a summer activity as well, to
Good
bring it
idea.
back. We know that that is our time of most needed donations and least donations.
And Mickey is amazing, our
Oh, yeah.
temp for the food pantry, she is amazing.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
can't say enough about how amazing she is.
Yeah.
So is she sticking around hopefully for a while?
We'll have to talk about
Well,
it.
yeah.
How long is the temp? You said temp, I'm like.
I mean, when she comes in the morning, she gets the pantry set up for the day, so that avoids me having to do it.
Oh,
And,
nice.
she's establishing a rapport with the clients. She really cares about the work, so that helps.
Absolutely.
And, she even went with Heather to go take the bags. She directs the volunteers. It's just a help. Even that 4 hours per day is very significant in our operation.
She's been
It's gonna sound like a strange thing too, but very literally where she sits.
Yeah.
When you open the door, she's right there. You're not, kind of staring, you're just trying to figure it
Yeah,
out.
we moved around a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
It looks good. It looks
yeah.
Yeah.
And it also kind of acts as a gatekeeper,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah, nice.
Good. Any additional discussion on the staff reports? Seeing none, we have to approve our 2026 meeting schedule by the end of this month. So it is here for your consideration. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 township meeting schedule as presented?
So,
Any discussion?
I may not be here February 10th because my
It's your anniversary.
75th birthday is February 9th.
oh, there you go.
Hopefully we'll have fun. Wait, come here.
The November meeting is on the 10th, and it's at Night of Toy down at the big educational conference, and
Yes, that does end up happening. Depends on if people are interested in going. I find that the toy conference, because we are so focused on social services, that the conference itself seems to be overbroad for us, but we don't have a lot of the other things, so I find it more useful to go to the, general assistance trainings and the more specific programming.
I think they're all useful. So I bet I could even join you for, but that's.
Any discussion beyond that? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is approved. All right, we are now going to discuss the Mayor's Monarch Challenge.
Guys, it's my favorite day of the year. So, just, my annual historical knowledge, on this one. About 2.5 years ago, I was contacted, by a few different, constituents saying, hey, there's this thing, we like butterflies, you should like butterflies. I looked into it, and it's something that a number of the different villages, in the township, have, been signing on to for years. And not just townships and villages, but Native American reservations do this, and all over. It's a big deal, and it's kind of fits right within the concept of what a lot of the schools are doing these days and focusing on that. We had originally been thinking like, is this even a thing that we should get involved with? But we did a little digging around and realized that one of the first things that the township did was deal with noxious weeds, and trying to figure out what do you do with that, and suddenly you start realizing that some of our noxious weeds are actually the things that we're yeah, exactly. These fine friends we're eating. So we are trying to be on the right side of history. It doesn't hurt that we get incredible art, and it's a lot of what we end up doing with this Mayor's Monarch Challenge is choosing some projects to get involved with, usually by supporting and amplifying the messages of agency partners who are already doing a lot of this stuff anyway. And so it really is not something that is a big expenditure on our part in terms of hard dollars. More so it's just being a mirror and helping the wider community to kind of see what some of our agency partners are doing. So that being the case, I am in the reporting period. They're very official on this website. So I'm in the reporting period from the 2025 challenge, and kind of gathering the data and the numbers from kind of how things have gone. And I will be reaching out to some of our employees to kind of help with some of those last few numbers. And then my ask for today is that we vote to do this again in 2026. It's the kind of thing that I take on for me, and I will let you guys know what I think, kind of the actions are that are, kind of not necessarily the easiest, but, the ones that in a lot of ways we're kind of already doing, and we can, kind of amplify the message from other groups. But yeah, but I don't want to go forward with this if suddenly everybody says we hate butterflies. So that being the case, I would like to request a motion to have New Trier Township participate in the Mayor's Monarch Challenge for 2026. That's through the National Wildlife Federation.
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah, Dale second.
Any discussion? Yes.
No, great program.
Yep.
I think we talked about before, when I was in the Solway board, we implemented that, and the interchanges, we planted milkweed, we didn't have them cut to grass, so we had a big push to help the monarch butterfly the migration through Illinois.
Yeah.
And that's where they plant their eggs, and they feed off the milkweed as they grow, so it's a great program, so, yeah.
And we give away milkweed too at our events.
Oh, right.
I saw that in Heather's report.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really, the biggest expense has been the milkweed packet.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap, but people love them.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, more meaningful than handing out, the
Yeah,
same
shipping is
way.
very high for everything right now, so that's a
This
big
is
part of it
absolutely
too.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But thank you for taking that on. So this is the first year, right?
Thank you.
No, so we've done this
Third.
We've done this since 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So talk about you.
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
got
no,
involved,
I-
and okay, so that's good,
Yeah,
because you've got some history in it.
Exactly,
Which is,
exactly.
oh, wonderful, yeah, that was gonna be one of the questions, like, you're gonna keep it going.
Oh,
right?
yeah. You stop me. Yeah.
additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we still like butterflies.
Yeah.
No additional continuing business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Okay.
Next.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, I'll see you on January 13th.
All right, happy holidays, happy new year.